There's a serious humanitarian and corruption problem happening in Russia, and it appears things are going to get a lot worse before they get any better. The president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, is well on his way to falling out with global leaders and detaining over 1,000 citizens.
You are now locked into Interconnected Voices.
Interconnected Voices.
Okay, so here's what you need to know. President Vladimir Putin has been in power some way or another since 1999. He's been Prime Minister 3 times and President twice. And at the start of the pandemic in March 2020, he amended the constitution, so essentially he could become president for life until 2036. He will literally be 83 years old, which is wild. Now, that amendment in constitution really pissed a lot of people off, especially the Russian opposition leader and anti-corruption activist Alexei Navalny. He's been on a mission to expose Putin for his engagement in corruption, lack of regard for human rights, and total lack of democracy in Russia. Now, Alexei Navalny definitely appeals to a younger audience. He posts daily videos on his social media exposing Russia of their corruption. This has led him to gain a massive following, so much so his fans are willing to risk getting detained in order to support him. The Russian government has made several attempts to stop Alexei talking about the claimed corruption happening under Putin. In fact, in 2018, Alexei was actually knocked off of his presidential campaign against Putin because all of a sudden he was being charged for embezzlement. Literally came out of nowhere. Alexei claimed that they were politically motivated. However, what happened to Alexei in August 2020 completely shocked everyone. He was on a flight to Siberia and became severely ill. He ended up being in a coma for 2 weeks and had to fly to Berlin to receive treatment. So the doctors actually revealed that Alexei had been poisoned with a nerve agent. Alexei and his team accused the Russian government of being behind this. In fact, Alexei and Bellingcat actually undertook their own independent investigation, and on this mad phone call, they got an arms weapons dealer from the Russian government to admit that they laced Alexei's underpants with the nerve agent. Can we just deep it for a second? How gross and hella calculated it is that they literally laced his underpants. But at the same time, it's really unsurprising because in 2018, the Russian government was also accused of poisoning a former Russian military intelligence agent who was basically telling people about Putin's corruption. I'm starting to see a little bit of a pattern here. I mean, in case you didn't guess already, Alexei and Bellingcat's claims were dismissed by the Russian government. And as soon as Alexei returned from Berlin after recovering, he was arrested immediately. And that's when the protest started. And this is when Putin's infamous Black Sea Palace comes into play. Allegedly, the palace was built for Putin's personal use. It had an ice rink and a casino. And in a BBC interview, a former business associate of Putin admitted that he'd asked him to take money from charitable projects in Russia, put them in an offshore account in order to fund the palace. Despite the paperwork literally showing the money being transferred to offshore accounts, numerous testimonials from internal staff, no external investigations have taken place over the Black Sea Palace. I mean, seriously, how much evidence do they need? Okay, so back to the protests. According to Reuters, more than 5,000 people have been detained in Russian prisons and in detention centres. They've been denied basic human rights like food and water, no access to toilet facilities, and a lot of them are crammed in prison cells with up to 27 people. Amnesty International are currently investigating a lot of police brutality cases against protesters who have sustained severe injuries. Global leaders of America and Europe have urged Putin to release Alexei and stop the protests. As Russia's relationships with other countries become fractured and Russia falls further and further into isolation, it looks like this humanitarian crisis is going to continue. See you again soon for more reports on global stories of interconnected voices.